And then I rolled a roach joint, except for I put cigarette butts in it by accident. So when I went to hit that, that was like wrecked.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, it's Monday. I know it's got to be Monday, right? It's not Tuesday. So it's like, okay, I've started my day over.
Welcome back to the Linux Land podcast, where we talk about life and what we're doing in Linux and stuff like that. As always, joined by Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Awesome.
Now, after a rough morning.
Yeah. So, you spilt your coffee, but you do have a fresh cup now, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Right before I did the intro there, I finished the last few sips of my coffee, so it's completely gone now, which I'm...
Well, that's not a good way to start a podcast.
No, it's not. But I will say, I don't think I need a fresh cup of coffee for this podcast. I drank this energy drink, which has 200 milligrams of caffeine in it, then drink a cup of coffee, and that right there is probably this thing is 2 or 3 cups of coffee. So I've pretty much had close to a pot of coffee this morning. I can't stop moving my legs. I think I'm fine. Well, so what have you been up to this week?
I've been playing, when not playing 0 to AD, I've been streaming the, how do I put this? The first game that I actually used wine for on Linux way back when.
Oh, what game is that?
Starfleet Command 2 Orion Pirates, the standalone expansion to Starfleet Command 2 Empires at War.
Yeah, I have seen those streams. So
And
that's the first thing that you ever used wine for.
That's the first thing I ever used wine for.
Interesting. So how's it going?
It's gotten harder to run that game over the years, and I was using Lutris to use an old version of wine, and the sound started stuttering in it, so I had to add a non-Steam game to Steam and try different versions of Proton until I found one that worked.
Dude, I swear, this
and got
microphone...
it going again.
I am so sorry.
It doesn't like new versions of wine, that old game. And in another Lutris game, and for this one there is an actual Lutris installer, No One Lives Forever. And I think those two games were the first reasons I ever both those two games, so I'm going to start streaming that one again. But both those games are the first games I installed wine when the first time, and I never used it. But so for
anyone who is
the first time
unfamiliar,
I installed Linux, because you got those guides, stay wine. I installed it, never used it, didn't know how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But finally, somewhere in the Ubuntu 14.04 cycle, so it's that long ago, that was the first time I used wine, and it was to play Starfleet Command Orion Pirates.
See, 14.04 was the days where Linux was not where it is now at 14.04.
Well, I started on 12.04 on Ubuntu.
Wait, so that means that you were definitely around for Hannah Montana Linux in its heyday.
Yeah. Well, have you seen my desktop?
Yes, I have. So I'm going to take that as you definitely checked out Hannah Montana Linux, at least for a little while.
Well, I did never install it. I looked at the website.
Oh, dude, I when it was probably a year or so after Hannah Montana Linux had become a meme. I installed it. I tried it out. It was fucking terrible. I mean, it's Hannah Montana Linux. Of course, it's terrible. But so for anyone who doesn't know what we're sort of talking about here, when it comes to the games, Orion Pirates is it's Star Trek shit. And if you're not a fan of Star Trek, I'm sorry, but we're about to start talking Star Trek for a minute.
And it's basically a real-time strategy also.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the Orions from Star Trek, can you explain why in the hell are they green?
I don't know.
Same. Like, I don't know either. And like the thing about the Orion, like the Orion Syndicate is like one of the most interesting pieces of
And
Star Trek.
I haven't watched Star Trek in so long.
Dude, the
I
Orions were the
checked.
one who got me like they were the like civilization that I found the most interesting because they're
I
a
checked out after Deep Space Nine just for whatever reasons.
Oh,
So I
really?
never saw anything past that. And boy, that was well. I saw a little bit. I saw a few episodes of Enterprise.
Dude, like our Star Trek like experiences are completely different. So like here's how I started watching Star Trek. I watched the Enterprise with Picard. Um, then watched Voyager. Fucking loved it.
Huh.
So good. It has such a good perspective. Like and like the whole narrative is so good. The setting is amazing. And then I watched then I tried going back and watching some of the older Star Treks, like the OG Star Trek. That one I couldn't do because I couldn't stop.
What?
I couldn't. I laughed too much. Like, I mean, it's not that I didn't watch it. I did watch all of the OG Star Trek, but like, it wasn't the same experience as like something like the Enterprise or Voyager, only because like the visual effects for it were almost too like comedic. Like I was watching it so far after it was released that like all of the visual effects were like they were funny. Like the if you go back and watch OG Star Trek, the beginning sequence is of a starship like going
But that
through
looked
space.
so great when I was a little kid growing up in the 70s.
Exactly. Like I mean, if I was watching it on a CRT, it'd be amazing. But because I'm watching it on a high resolution screen, I literally see the fish wire and cardboard going across my screen.
Yeah,
I
but that's
instantly
not.
started laughing.
But that's not what makes the original series better than all the other ones. It's everything else.
Yes, like and that's why I said I did watch it. Like it is a very good. Like the character development is so good. They tell a lot of really interesting stories, but like out of all of the Star Trek series, the OG one is the one where I laughed the hardest throughout. Like, dude, like you cannot tell me it's not funny. Like when you see like them go into it's not real.
I understand what you're saying. Have you ever seen 1966 Ultraman?
Yes, yes.
I love those special effects. I love those old cheesy special effects. I think they look awesome.
See, to me, they're all funny because, like, at the time,
they're great.
Yeah, like at the time, like that was good. But like now, with so much better techniques, you watch it, you're like, oh, come on, y'all, come on now. Like,
I wanna. If I was like a movie guy, I'd probably want to put together a new movie using the 60s special effects technology. Just for that, because there's only one way to get that actual look, and it's to do it like that.
And like to me, like like to me, like I think the sweet spot, like when it comes to like horror special effects, is like the 80s. Like back in the 80s and 70s, like dude, those horror special effects were awesome, man. So good, and they were working with like such like. They just didn't have the techniques and stuff that we do today.
Corn syrup and red food coloring.
Exactly.
Looks like blood.
Yeah, and like what they could do with like so little. Oh, so good. But yeah, so that was a little bit of Star Trek nerd out. So for me this week, I've been doing a lot. So for one, I sort of messed up and like this weekend thought I had the weekend off of work. I didn't. And so Saturday, my boss texted me and asked me, hey, just wondering if you're coming into work. And that was like probably like 20 minutes after I was supposed to be there. I don't know how. I didn't see the notification. I didn't see the text. And yet when I was messaging other people throughout the day and like I just didn't notice it.
Boy.
It didn't also like when I did eventually like check my text messages the next day and see it, it didn't have the one next to it. So so that was Saturday, and then Saturday night my phone died, and I had the whole rest of the day off, and I was doing other stuff on the computer, and I was home with family, so no one just needed to text me. So I didn't charge my phone. And then the next, I did end up like in the middle of the nights, or like when I did fall asleep, because again, I've been streaming Zero ID a shitload lately. Sleeping schedule has been really screwed up. I just plugged it up. And so it did charge and turn on, but it was across the house, like I wasn't going to hear it or anything, and wasn't messing around with it for pretty much all of Sunday morning. My boss called me and also sent me a text like, okay, I guess, or she was like, I guess you're not coming into work again today. And I didn't see it until like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Like,
Oh boy.
yeah. And I was like, oh shit. Luckily, again, it was okay. Like, I mean, no calling, no showing at work is something I hate when people do. So I don't ever really try to do it. Honest to God mistake. But whatever. So that was but I did, get to hang out with friends and family. Did have a great Halloween. We had quite a few trick-or-treaters come by. It was all in all a good weekend. And then this week I've gotten merch made. We're getting closer and closer to hitting 1,000 subscribers on my channel, which is nuts. I've started using Anchor and uploading these podcasts onto Anchor, so people will be able to see it on Spotify, Anchor, and hopefully here in the very near future, you'll see it on Apple Podcasts as well. That's just turning out to be a little bit more of a hassle getting set up. But yeah, I got a logo made for this. I'm going to start redoing a whole bunch of thumbnails on Wednesday, or not Wednesday, on December 6th. The website will be no more. So officialzany.com. I'm not renewing it this December. It'll just expire and go into oblivion. If you want to get a website or see me writing stuff, whatever, like a blog, you can go over to zany.org on Gemini. You'll need a Gemini browser. I'm using Gemini, loving it. I just posted today the second episode of Deep Gemini Browsing. Actually, got to see a video and a cool like little photo of some douche parking. It was a very good video. I'm really liking Gemini, and I think it's the future of web browsing. Have you used Gemini at all?
Nope.
Ooh, that might be something you find very interesting. It's sort of like the internet in the old days. Like there is like a search engine, but it's like what Google was way back in the day when Google was like just starting. Like it's a really handy tool that's not harvesting data from you. Like it wasn't evil Google, it was just Google, a nice tool to find cool shit on the internet. So there's Gemini.
What was that one that I used to like? Then it went away, and then when it came back, it wasn't. Was it Netscape or something? Back in the Windows 95 days.
yeah, that would be Netscape. Dude, buddy, chill. Like, I'm trying to record a podcast here, brother. Like, I don't know what's going on with him. Like, hold on, we're gonna pause the podcast for just a second because I'm gonna go let Buddy outside. I'm just gonna let him chill outside because I don't know why. He was relaxed, but then people got here and he started watching workers, and now he's all worked up. Oh, give me one sec, Jeff. Sorry. All right. Sorry, good buddy. Now Buddy gets to go outside. Buddy's going to be stuck outside chasing Ava, my mom's dog, around the backyard for like, I mean, if my mom doesn't bring her dog inside, Buddy will get to chase her around for like 20 minutes at least. He'll love it. Ava will fucking hate it. She's scared as hell of Buddy because he's like 4 times her size, but whatever. So yeah, so Gemini, if you do like, do you know anything about Gemini at all?
Nope, not really.
Okay, so Gemini is like a web protocol similar to like Gopher and HTML. Um, it's built to be sort of like an in between Gopher and HTML. Um, so essentially, Gemini it's all plain text. It uses a simple Markdown, or a simplified version of Markdown for its formatting, and then it does allow you to serve like videos and images and stuff, but not inside of the browser. You can essentially like serve it to someone. Like essentially, if you find videos or photos on Gemini, you'll click it and it'll like download and it will either download or just open up in your like home photo editor and stuff like that, um, video player. So it's very clean. It's easy to read. You can essentially have the entire Gemini space in whatever fonts you want, the theme that you want, however you want to view Gemini, you can view it
It,
your
it,
way.
uh, it sounds like the IRC chat of web browsing.
Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Um, like it's so nice, man. Like it's very resistant to becoming what the web is. Like you're not going to do online banking on there. You're not going to build web apps for it. Um, None of that shit. But you can definitely build like a search engine. You could very easily develop like I mean, you could definitely develop like a calculator or something like that for Gemini. But building your own little like Gemini they're called capsules instead of
Hmm.
websites. But building your own capsule is super simple. You essentially make two folders, a Gemini folder and a bin folder on your server. Like you can go out and get a VPS, install like Ubuntu or something on it, and then you just make a bin folder and a Gemini folder. And you in the inside of the bin folder, you put your server software for Gemini, which you'll probably be using something like Agate, um, and then literally you just run Agate with the command of your Gemini folder, which you should put like an index.gmi file in there. Um, and that's like your .gmi files are your, well, what your, Gemini files are in. That's a Gemini file. And you make your index at your home page, and then you're pretty much off to the races on making your website. Like making a link is literally just an equal sign and then the bracket and the link and then what you want the link text to be right next to it. It's super simple formatting. Like headers are done with hashtags, like one, two hashtags, three hashtags for the different headings. It's it's very very well done. I really like it. Um, I would recommend Gemini to a lot of people if you're tired of the bloated web and you just want to read cool shit or find tutorials and stuff. Like on my Gemini capsule, I have the entire Arch install guide and general recommendations page um, reformatted and copied over into plain text on my capsule. So like the whole sort of goal for my capsule is to provide Arch guides, Gemini guide or not Gemini, GIMP and Godot guides, and then just I have my micro blog over there where I update it from time to time with like what I'm doing during the day. It's pretty much like I treat my like micro blog on Gemini like Twitter. Instead of like opening up Twitter and posting some stupid shit and having like people respond and give me stupid feedback, I just I just open up a terminal SSH into my server and then just edit the file and update it with a new date, a new post, and then go on about my life. And I also read other people's I read Hex DSL's micro blog. I also read uh, his, Hex DSL's. He's got a buddy Drew that he does Trinity Talk with, and I read his micro blog. And Drew's micro blog and like his Gemini capsules, I find very interesting. I really like Drew.
Huh.
But yeah, so that's what I've been doing and what I've been interested in lately. Uh, what about you? You've been doing anything like productive wise, working on the house, doing anything like that?
No, just keeping up on wood.
That's what I like to hear. Relaxing.
Well, I'm still sore. I'm
Uh-huh.
falling off the roof.
I mean, dude, you
I'm
gotta
fully
recover.
I'm fully functional, but I'm still sore.
I mean, it's good. Like back injuries are one
I
of
got
those
all
things.
my I got all my range of motion and everything back, but holy cow.
Yeah, hurting your back's one of those things. It takes some serious recovery
Man.
time. But I am glad to hear that you're like, all you are is sore now. You're not riddled
Yeah.
with pain. But I guess that I mean, it is. I mean, if you're going to hurt your back, it's probably best to do it at harvest season. Like at least you have like available pain medication.
Man.
Like, did you even go to like the hospital or anything when you hurt your
No.
back? Oh, really? So you just like
Well,
laid up.
what are they going to do? Tell you got a cracked rib and they can't do nothing about it?
I mean, true.
Wrap it up. Yeah,
No. Wait, hold on. So did you wait, did you think that you cracked any
I think
ribs?
I cracked a rib.
Oh, fuck. Ow. Man,
Super, super, super deep breath still hurt.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, man. Because those types of breaks take forever to heal.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad that you're only sore.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not crippled. For real.
Well, I mean, at least the house can still get work done.
I couldn't freaking stand up. I had to like crawl to my bed. That was hard. The next morning I couldn't stand up. The next day I could stand up, but I couldn't stand up at first. I was like, holy fuck.
Did you have any like neighbors or anybody to help like with like wood or anything like that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, at least you got helpful neighbor. Like, I mean, I guess that's one question I could ask you. Like, I mean, where you are, do you have like really good neighbors around you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You'll get your own like little tight knit community over there.
Some of us.
Oh, so there are definitely those loners like that just.
Well,
are out
I'm
on
pretty
their
much a
own.
loner, but I get along with my neighbors. But there's some people that could stand to go away. Yeah,
Well, I think in any group of people you'll have that. You hit a certain size and you're like, some people could don't really need to be here. They cause more trouble than they're worth.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Mm-hmm. But well, so when it comes to Linux, is there anything new or interesting that you've heard about and want to talk about?
Well, I don't do much Linuxy stuff. I just run Linux because it's like Microsoft finally pissed me off for the last time years ago.
I mean,
and it's been so long ago. It's like, yeah, I'm over it.
well, I mean, you use Linux for
I can't even talk
retro
about
gaming.
Windows anymore because I haven't used it in so long. I have no idea what it's like now.
Well, it's not good. I can tell you that much. Well,
I know.
you mainly
I
use
know.
Linux.
I had a lot more, and Windows XP was the last Windows I used, and I had a lot more problems with Windows XP than I did even starting out for the first time on Ubuntu 12.04.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything with an Ubuntu base is going to be great. Like,
But I was like, wow, this is what I wanted Windows XP to be.
I mean, unless you're using the latest version of Ubuntu, then you're going to have a bad time because it's all Wayland pipe
Well, just
wiry.
use LTS and don't use vanilla Ubuntu unless I guess you might like GNOME.
I mean, you might.
But XFCE, Mate, KDE are all better environments.
I highly recommend KDE, man. Like, I mean,
I just I don't stop fiddling with it. I won't stop fiddling with the settings.
Mhm.
Like fiddle, And then half the time I can't remember how to unfiddle something I ended up not liking. And then I'm like, I'm just going back to XFCE.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the thing is like for me, like I love fiddling with the settings in KDE because there's so much you can do in KDE. So
Yeah,
much.
it's yeah.
Yeah, I can see. I'm
I
like
can
the
see the appeal. I can see
yeah
the appeal.
yeah. And I see the appeal in XFCE too because I mean it's like it's a it's a more simplified version of KDE without all of the fancy shit that you're
Yeah,
probably not going to want.
I don't need all that whiz bang.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally understand that. So like, XFCE is better for that, and for your older hardware, like it's just going to be XFCE is just going to be easier on it.
I don't know.
And
KDE got pretty light these days.
it has, but it's still not XFCE light yet, and I don't think it'll get there. Only because XFCE has, I mean, I've said this before, but XFCE figured out their like paradigm like 10 years ago, and now they're not changing shit about how the desktop environment works per se. They're only improving it and making it a more clean experience and giving security updates all the time. Like that's what XFCE is now. Because like XFCE is one of those desktop environments where if they started changing a whole bunch of stuff or adding a ton of features, like it wouldn't be XFCE anymore. Like it might still have the name, but it wouldn't be XFCE anymore.
Something Linuxy I am interested in is for Linus Tech Tips to start dropping their actual Linux vids instead of just little snippets in the.
Mm-hmm. Well, so far from what I'm hearing, there probably going to be some like I don't want to say negative videos, but they're going to be videos on Linux from a perspective that that probably shouldn't be using Linux in the first place. Like I understand like a whole bunch of people being like, we need to have like people using Linux. Everybody should use Linux. There's use cases where Linux doesn't make sense. And like if you're Linus Tech Tips and where your whole business is getting brand new fucking hardware from manufacturers and even in some cases getting unreleased hardware that's
right.
super new and using Linux for that, like no, that's not what Linux is meant for. You're obviously going to have problems. Linux is not really meant for even the type of servers that they're using. Linux is not necessarily built. It can do this. Don't misunderstand me. But it's not necessarily meant for the server environment of editing like very high resolution files, like video all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, you can do it, but when you're running very odd RAID arrays, very weird RAID cards, and you've got like 70 fucking 4 terabyte NVMe drives, like Linux is probably not the environment for that. You're probably going to have some hardware issues only because, again, weird RAID cards are not really going to be like the odds that, you know, a Linux developer has the same weird RAID card that you have is probably not
right.
the case. So I don't know. I don't think they're going to be publishing videos that are very relevant for actual Linux users. Like, I don't think they're going to come out of the gate and be like, Linux sucks or it's terrible. I think they're just going to have a lot of videos being like, well, Linux doesn't work for us in this, and this like use case, which is valid. But I feel like that should be something that you like. That should be something that you already know. Like, you should know on brand new hardware, you're going to have problems.
I expect Linus to have issues, like you're saying, with bleeding edge, weird hardware.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The only thing that I'm worried about is him talking about all of the issues that he has on Linux and not not going into detail about the fact that this should be known. Like, you should know that if you are somebody who gets hardware frequently that's brand new, if not like before release, you
And
definitely.
I do hope we get some Anthony commentary. Although from what I
Yeah,
understand, he's not allowed to help.
I believe so.
But
As
it'd
far as
still
I
be
know, he's not.
interesting to get like a play-by-play commentary. Well, look what these idiots are doing now.
Hmm. Well, I think it's a little ridiculous that Anthony can't be part of it.
Right?
Like Anthony is probably the only. Anthony helping is probably the only way that Linus could probably see Linux in a very positive light, because
Right.
Anthony will just be that person to stop him. Like, look, no, our drive for all of the editors doesn't, like, that server does not need to be changed. Like, if all of the editors are using Windows and the server itself is a Windows and you've got weird fucking cards in there, like,
Right.
I've seen the videos where Linus had, I mean, he had problems on Windows with the
Yeah.
very obscure problems that he's like, or hardware that he has. That's not going to get better on Linux. That's only going to
Mm-mm.
get worse. I, I I don't see the
Yeah,
point
he's
in
not going to
changing.
lose the issue of having weird issues with hardware by moving to Linux. If nothing,
Yeah,
it's not going to get better.
exactly. Like, it's really not. But
I mean, just straight up.
that being said, for stuff like the machines that they use for like WAN show, like the little like laptops and everything that they use to like check chat and load up websites and everything, for all of the like marketing department, like have them using like Krita and Krita, GIMP, like a suite of applications on Linux. That's 100% feasible and would definitely save a lot of money. Like, yes, it would cost you in training time for your employees,
Yep.
like training someone on moving over from Photoshop to GIMP and from I don't know what an alternative to Krita is. Um, like some, I'm sure Adobe's got some
I
vector
I can't
software.
think of it,
Yeah,
but
but
there is.
I'm sure Adobe's got their own vector software. But either way, like, you would save, like, if you spent 2 weeks training for each of those applications, like the money that you'll spend on that would save you so much down the road in Adobe software, like monthly payments for Photoshop and whatever else that you use for like vector art. Um, it's weird because, like, I feel like they're gonna make videos that just, they're not relevant. Like, if Linus was to get help from Anthony, I feel like Anthony would have him implement Linux in places where it makes sense instead of just trying
Right.
to, like, spending days trying to get Linux like working for your video editors, where most likely, like, it's not worth it. Like, it's probably not worth it to train all of your video editors on not only how to use Linux, but also how to use a different software. Because I don't think they've fully moved over to DaVinci Resolve or anything. I'm pretty sure Linus said that they were going back to Premiere after they checked out DaVinci. So I think they're still using Adobe products. Um, which, if they are, that's too much work. Like, it's just not worth it. Not only do you have to get DaVinci Resolve to work on Linux, which is already a little bit more of a headache. Like, it's going to take you a little bit of
Right.
time to do that. Then you have to train your editors on Linux, on how to use it, and on how to use DaVinci Resolve. Like, it's just not worth it. Um, so I don't know. Hopefully he'll get some help from Anthony towards the end of it. That'd be nice.
Right.
Or if they just redo the whole thing with Anthony's help, that I'd be ecstatic about. Well, um, is there anything else that you've seen, like maybe on YouTube, that you're interested in? Because I sure
Um,
as hell haven't.
I wanted to be excited about the Boba Fett trailer, but it didn't excite me at all.
I haven't even seen it. That just goes to show how excited I am.
Well, Disney's done a good job of doing all they can to murder Star Wars, so
Yeah.
it's hard to get excited about anything new. Although I did like the Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, but to be honest, the quality of writing was like 80s Saturday morning cartoon grade.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like Star Wars, and it didn't have the in your face political agenda BS thrown at it,
Yep.
thrown at you. So
That's
I
always
enjoyed it.
so weird. Like, I don't understand why that type of shit is put into what is essentially kids' movies. Like, you're making your movies for an audience that's younger. Why? Like, why do all of that shit? Like, what grandpa thinks of Star Wars doesn't fucking matter. Or like what your activists like out there in the world think of your movie is kind of stupid. Like, just like here's a mind-blowing thing. How about you just focus on making a movie entertaining because it's entertainment? Wow. Like,
It's the story's taken. The stories. What story? It's all just propaganda now.
exactly. Well, and it's like you're trying to make a statement with your movie. Like, stop it. Just make a good fucking movie. Like, that's what I'm here for. Is a good movie, not how you stand on like social issues. Get the fuck out of here.
I want to escape, not be drawn back into the world I'm escaping from.
Exactly. Like, I feel like directors have just like either lost their way or executives have just way too much power over the writing and what happens in a movie's like narrative. Because I mean, it's the executives at Disney that are making all those stupid ass decisions.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. But then again, there's really nothing you can do about it because Disney fucking owns everything.
Right.
Like Disney will be our dystopian overlords. That's exactly what will happen. Like this is how I perceive the future going. Okay, like I think the future is going to end up being exactly like that TV show Continuum. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go watch it. It's a TV show in which these people from the future go back in time to stop corporations from taking over the world. And like it's such a weird it's a weird story to watch because it sounds outrageous, but like when you watch it, like the method in which like the corporations take over like the world and the way in which they use their power, it's so realistic. Like it's so like literally what happens in the story is like the government goes bankrupt, which by the way, most governments are bankrupt. So
well, we're pretty much to the point now where all we're missing from Demolition Man is the 3 seashells. Mm-hmm. Every restaurant is Taco Bell now.
Exactly.
Well, all entertainment is Disney now.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the TV show, like what happens is like the government, which is bankrupt, which guess what? If you're living in the U.S., you live in a bankrupt government. These few corporations get together, like I don't know, say Apple, Facebook, Google. They get together and they bail out the government, but the bailout comes with stipulations. Like they essentially buy out the government. Like, and it's not that evil at first. Like they don't really change that much about the government. The stipulations really aren't that much. But as it goes on, because the government is so inept, which guess what? Most are, they enforce more and more stipulations for more and more money. And by the end, like after a couple decades, it's essentially like the government doesn't really even exist. It's just a front end for the corporations. And it's mind-blowing watching this movie because it's literally like watching the real future. Like this is exactly what's happening now.
We're there now.
Exactly.
What future?
Exactly. Like right now, all it would take is like our biggest corporations like Tesla, Google, all the ones I've listed off before, just being like, hey, you want to bail out the government?
We're already there right now. Someone's financing all the propaganda.
Yep.
And social engineering that goes into mainstream media. It's sick.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you want a TV show to like really really get under your skin and make you think about the world that you live in, Continuum's great. It's fantastic. It's literally a show that's ahead of its time. Like it's so good. But with all that being said, I think we're going to end it here because this is going to be like one of our shorter podcasts. Well, like,
Cool.
because I mean, we sort of have to like make up for the fact that we did like a 9-hour podcast. That definitely has to be like corrected. So we'll make up for it with this one. Jeff, thank you for talking with me, man. As always,
Yep.
Hopefully I'll see you for Zero AD later. And
I don't know if my head's in it today.
Well,
I
even
think
if
I
it's
need
not,
something more mindless like Super Tux Card.
ooh, we might do that. We might do a Super Tux Card stream.
I'm
Actually,
just not into.
would you want to
Well,
do
you-
Sonotic?
You heard how? No.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it could. It might be fun to just totally suck at that.
Well, I haven't played it like in.
I think
forever.
I installed it once like 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah, it's been about 3 or 4 years since I played it.
and that's not really what I'm good at.
Same. I'm much better at Super Tux Card. So, all right. Well, we might play Super Tux Card later, and by might I mean definitely. We'll definitely play Super Tux Card later. Well, all right, man. Let's end it off here. Thank all of you guys for watching the podcast. If you're listening to this on Spotify or somewhere else, because I have to remember that that's a thing now. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy it. I will see all of you guys. We will see all of you guys later playing Super Tux Card. Bye.
Have a great week. Bye.
Oh. Shit, wrong button. Whoops.